What's going on, everybody? Anthony Campo here, your coach and host of the Be Battle Ready podcast. And on today's episode, I want to talk to you about expecting what is real to be ideal creates frustration. So let's get ready, lock and load, and it's time to dive into today's daily battle. All right. So today I want to talk to you about expecting what is real to be ideal creates frustration. So I was sitting in church. We're back to church for the first time since COVID. And this was the topic. And, it was between the idea between reality and idealism and like the frustration and conflict that it creates. And I was like, this is a great topic. Because, not only is there application in like a global standard, in a societal standard, in a family, in a business, but primarily within yourself. Okay. And, I was thinking about this is like, oh, wow. Like how much does that create conflict, in all those areas, right? So like if we look at this, like there's a big conflict between the reality of the situation, especially in like politically right now, the reality of where we're currently at and the ideals of all these other people, right? From people from the left, from the right, do we do that? Do we do universal health care? And is it done this way? Is it done that way? And all this conflict and all the conflict and argument and frustration comes from two sectors or multiple people's and ideals of what is ideal, right? To solve a certain reality, a problem in reality, instead of coming back into reality and solving that problem from a reality, from what's broken in reality. And, they're from a macro, they're trying to fix something that's real with something that's ideal. Instead of looking at what we currently have and saying, like, we need to fix what we have. Think about, this, how this applies to your life, right? And I know, especially with myself, like being someone that has a lot of ideas, has vision, that I could sit down with, anybody. And this is why I love coaching people, because I could sit down and come up with problems and solutions and ideas and all this other stuff. And, when I coach people, it's a lot easier to see the reality and the ideal and build the roadmap to there. That's the primary thing that I do when I work with clients is here's where you're at. Here's where you want to go. And this out here is where you want to go is your ideal. But let's go ahead and reverse engineer. What's the first step? And that's why the daily battle is so important. That's why today you've got to win that first step, because tomorrow reveals the next step. We could plan tomorrow's next step. I could create an ideal of what the next 3 or 4 steps are going to be. But once we step into the first step, the second step might change. The ideal might change. So, I recently went through a 2-day process of going through something like this. What's the reality? It's called, it's called a fact map. What are the facts about today? And, this in itself was so like transformative. I was always about like, hey, here's the numbers, but what's the patterns? What's the beliefs? What's that? What are the facts about all that? And what needs to change to get to there? So what I want to bring it back to is yourself, right? And, my experience. So my personal experience is having vision, seeing the greater possibility, but not applying the reality all the time to myself. My tendency with guiding myself And this is why I leverage coaches, I leverage mentors, I leverage, outside, just so that I can get, hey, look, you're a little too far ahead of yourself. Cause I jump a little too far ahead of where I'm currently at and not bring it back down to reality. So recently, like, when it comes to like content, right? I saw the big picture what I could do. And a lot of times I've done this. I go, well, here's the master plan of attack. Here's how I'm going to like wage war, right? Type of thing. But I try to jump into that, and I could probably sustain it for a couple days, but the reality is that my day isn't structured yet. My personal operating system isn't there yet. Right? And so I've had to really coach myself, and through trial and error of really stepping back and slowing down. Because, when you do see the greater possibility and the path, right? You think that you can jump to that path. And too many times, like, that's one of the biggest lessons I'm having to learn over and over again, is learning to slow down and win the daily battle. And win what's in front of me today, because I want to jump into the full war. I want to go play the game. And if I look back and it doesn't, I disconnect from what's real. I go to the future. I go play in the future when I haven't played today. So I share this with you because, I get it. Like, if you're anything that's, can see the possibility, that can see what can happen, has vision, has all this other stuff. Like, I have an idea right now that like I love, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna study on it and do all this other stuff. And even when in my inside of that, I'm like, damn, I'm so far behind, and like, it's frustrating. I get it. But what we need to do is that I've wasted more time with frustration and trying to jump ahead of where I'm currently at, with the false belief of like, okay, if I go jump into that and like bathe myself into that, like my ego says, dude, that's, you could do it. Don't be a pussy. Don't do this, da 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 da. And it just ends up wasting a bunch of time. So, the lesson here is to slow down and get clear about where you're currently at and be okay and acceptance, right? Other thing I'm learning right now is, one of the clients I coach is she's 19 years into manifestation, law of attraction stuff. And what she said she's the real deal about it, right? You think it might be foo-foo stuff and all that stuff, but she's got some real results, with her clients. And, one of the things I'm learning inside of that is this emotional chart of what is negativity and what is positivity and how do you manage that. See, I share that part of it with you because when we get into that negative, forceful space, like that power can be leveraged at times for good, but it has to be redirected it has to go from that frustrated into positive. But what it does, it throws yourself off, right? If I'm in this forward thinking place where I'm not present, like I'm not present in reality, and I'm forcefully doing something, I'm forcing myself to do something. The thing is that you could, when I was younger, I could sustain it, right? Because I didn't have kids, I didn't have a relationship, I didn't have like responsibilities outside of like work out, get up, go to work, do my thing, and that was it, right? Plus, physiologically, I'm getting older, right? And this is what happens, is that we get older and we're not able to sustain that. So that part I share with you because, like, understand the harmony that if you change the emotions, you change that, you get into momentum and you move forward. So, so and what I want to know from you, so here's the principle that I want you to focus on, is to really step into reality, step into what's real, and understand that the thing is not to shut down the ideal. It's not that the ideal isn't what you should be walking towards or shooting for or building towards. But the biggest principle in this is that I've learned is, like focus on, like, be okay with what is real. Don't avoid what is real. Like, I personally, there's a lot of things I avoid, I resist. We all do it. You do it. And, you know, focusing on that piece of it, and understanding what is real, and only worrying about the next step. Because like I said earlier, that once you take the first step, and if you plan 5 steps, those 5 steps could change and you can find a better path. You just understand what's real, what's reality today, and get with that. Let's go with the frustration. If you just get real about where you're at and what your next step is, and move towards that with the intention of going to the ideal, because the course will it doesn't matter how well you plan, the course will take you, you know, the course will reveal itself. The ideal course will reveal itself. Because if everybody can know the course, exactly the same steps, then everybody would be able to change it. And I think the breakdown with a lot of people, with myself, I know, is like, you know, is we try to create our own ideal, right? Instead of allowing the ideal to reveal itself. So what I want to know from you today is this, is that where in your life, business, whatever, right? Maybe it's in, you know, what you get up, expect of yourself every day to get done, right? Maybe it's, you're expecting yourself to have some more results, or you're expecting yourself to be somebody else instead of who you are today. Because I think the power of who we are and what we could become is really rooted in the reality of today. So where is this showing up for you? I'm like, what can you do to move forward, course correct it? What's the first step, right? Where can you say, okay, here's my reality, right? And here's my reality, here's my ideal. And what is the step? What's the battle you need to win today to move forward? So I look forward to supporting you. And if you are having troubles, like, you know, getting checked in reality, you need some help, you need to help standing back, getting a mirror back to what you are doing, getting some coaching, consulting on this. I'm going to invite you to take the next step and book a brainstorming call with me, so we can identify where you're currently at, where you want to go, what's breaking down, what do you need most right now, not what you need most in the future, and build you the 3 things you need to work on right now. So, you know, if that's you, I'm going to put the link in the comments below, and I'll talk to you soon.